Welcome to Kopano 2022. We're gathered here in Cape Town, but our gathering did not start here and now. In the final months of last year and early in 2022, the Other Foundation supported a series of national gatherings in Eswatini, Botswana, Malawi, Mauritius, Namibia, and South Africa. In partnership with the Malawi Diversity Forum, the Diversity Alliance of Namibia, Collective Arc-en-Ciel and the Young Queer Alliance in Mauritius, Le Habibo in Botswana, Eswatini Sexual Gender Minorities and Gender Dynamics in South Africa. Those gatherings helped to reconnect LGBTI activist communities to assess the effects that the COVID-19 restrictions over almost 2 years had on their organizing and advocacy for freedom, equality, and social and economic inclusion. They happened partly because feedback to the Other Foundation from LGBTI communities asked for more support from the Foundation for national dialogues, and also because it was uncertain whether we would be able to gather in person in big numbers for Kopano this year. The outcomes of all the national discussions were brought together in a Southern African regional consultation, which informs the shape and content of Kopano 2022. These gatherings of LGBTI leaders, community members, and allies in each country presented a unique opportunity to broaden involvement in shaping Kopano by informing its agenda, priorities, and approach in a deeper and more meaningful way than ever before. The COVID pandemic caused many structural and functional rollbacks that organizations and activists continue to deal with. This, on top of the already existing struggles that marginalized communities face, making it more difficult and sometimes impossible to organize, campaign, or deliver services. The goal of the national discussions was to identify both the unique and the shared challenges experienced by our communities. They displayed the remarkable resilience that LGBTI activists and allies had shown in a COVID-19 depressed but still growing movement. In addition, it strengthened networks between LGBTI activists and allies in the mass media, religious organizations, businesses, governments, traditional cultural leadership, and parents and families of LGBTI people. As Muriel Vaughan, who was the president of Collective Arc-en-Ciel in Mauritius at the time, observed, COVID-19 reshuffled economies and societies, slowing down most of the work being done. However, it also sparked the use of social media and created a swell of solidarity from organizations and members of society at large. In doing so, our networks grew, expanding connections, and made us investigate how organizations can help each other. We can draw many lessons from our experiences during the pandemic, such as focusing on mental health of our community and the activists in their organizations, promoting the economic participation and financial stability of LGBTI people and their organizations, maintaining relationships with allies in every sector of society, and investing in the future of our communities and organizations by empowering younger leaders and activists. The pandemic has not broken us. It has renewed the commitment and passion we have to see freedom and equality become a reality for all, no matter who they are or who they love. It has strengthened our recognition of the need for solidarity and connectedness with each other. It has reignited our concern for the safety, dignity, and well-being of every homosexual, bisexual, transgender, intersex, or gender non-conforming person in our communities. It has sparked a renewal of our movements across Southern Africa. In March this year, the road to Kopano led us to the gathering of Southern African lesbian, bisexual, and queer people in Johannesburg, when the Forum for the Empowerment of Women collaborated with the Other Foundation to bring together over 40 LBQ activists from almost all the countries in the region. After deep reflection, they agreed on the need for a better resourced, coordinated, and more visible response to the regular and often violent attacks on Black lesbians, gender non-conforming people, and non-binary people. Over 2 days, the convening carved out a pathway to strengthen the leadership of LBQ groups and create strategies for stronger voice and visibility to influence change in public attitudes, policies, and practices. The Southern African LBQ convening will continue to build multi-country networks of LBQ activists and allies while working to build an inclusive and non-heteronormative feminist movement in Africa. The people and outcomes of the gathering are brought to Kopano 2022 to take this forward. These national and regional gatherings all emphasize the need to pay more attention to the economic exclusion and livelihood vulnerability of LGBTI people, which was made worse by the COVID-19 situation. Yet, engagement between LGBTI organizations and businesses is often seen as a collision of two worlds. One focused on freedom, equality, wellness, and human rights with a long-term view, while the other is perceived as profit-oriented with a short-term outlook. Yet freedom of LGBTI people is incomplete without economic participation. Many LGBTI-owned small businesses that create jobs and livelihoods for LGBTI people and LGBTI people themselves as individuals are excluded from income opportunities or from advancement in their workplaces if they freely show who they are. With the support of the Other Foundation, this year's LGBTI Business Summit, hosted by PLUS, the South African LGBTI+ Business Network, therefore expanded participation in the summit to several other countries in the region and focused on enabling LGBTI communities to tap into the procurement spending of big businesses. Dean Ebden, the chairperson of PLUS, noted that while the COVID pandemic highlighted the need for queer communities to pull together and sharpen our tools to pursue opportunities, tremendous progress has been made since 2017. The inclusion of LGBTI communities in business is vital to give marginalized groups access to economic opportunities. And workplace inclusion of LGBTI employees could transform companies for the better. The summit gave LGBTI small business owners a rare chance to access big business directly. The participation of more companies than ever before in the South African Work Equality Index, SAWE, indicated the positive impact of these engagements between LGBTI activists and businesses. The outcomes of the summit have informed the design of Kopano 2022. We are not the only ones who have suffered through turmoil and struggle, with the hope of emerging anew, not now or in the past. Our forebears struggled for freedom and paid a high price for it. Some were killed, some were jailed. We are grateful to gather with the support of the Robben Island Museum, where many icons of our continuing struggle, including Simon Nkoli, were held in prison. Robben Island remains a symbol of the triumph of the human spirit over adversity, which is a centerpiece of Kopano 2022. The University of Cape Town, in the midst of its efforts to transform itself in many different ways, including LGBTI equality and inclusion, was ravaged by a devastating fire at the beginning of this year. We are inspired by UCT's resilience in the face of the enormous damage that the fire brought, and equally by its determination to pursue a quality of transformation that centers LGBTI inclusion, even under critical gaze. This is shown not least by UCT's extraordinary gesture of hosting Kopano 2022 with the full support of its Vice-Chancellor and its Chair of Council. We know only too well that our struggle is a long road. This is a part of the road that we've walked to Kopano 2022. We have lost many of our loved ones, some through COVID-19 and others through brutal violence that seeks to erase who we are. We honor those who have been lost and dedicate Kopano 2022 to their living memory in us, as we take stock and renew our efforts to make freedom a reality for LGBTI people all over our region.